My name's Paterson. I'm the Manager of Development Plan and Communities at Angus, and I'll explain a wee bit around that. Has led a lot of our thinking in terms of that approach, because that is quite a new construct as to where we're at. This is my colleague Helen Reid from Communities team.
I was, just a bit background, I'm actually CLD, formerly sort of community education, and we, like every other council, we've had lots of restructuring. So we kind of started under education there. Then they kind of had a thought that, well, we'll put sort of community learning development under chief executive. So we spent a wee bit of time there. And then had another thought, you know what, we'll put you under the communities area. And then just recently, in April, they came back and they said, you know what, we're going to put you under planning. Now, you could take this one way or another. You could actually say, everybody wants a part of us, or nobody's wanting anything to do with us. So hopefully by the end of this, you can make up your own mind what Angus Council is actually doing there as well. So, and I must admit, it's been an absolute eye-opener to be part of planning, because I must say, community workers kind of thought, planning, what do you do? We see the public notices, you kind of do plans, that's it. Wow, have we had an eye-opener about how we can really work together to make changes for individuals and also build resilient and influential communities.
And just to pick up on Helen's point, I have to say, when somebody said to me, by the way, Jill, as part of the management restructure, we are giving you the communities team. How does that make you feel? We used to work in the same building. I would be lying if I didn't say my team said community planning, they start interfering in our work. I don't know what they do. They all wear kind of jeans, they come in and out of the office. I don't know what they're up to. And it has...
I made an effort.
It's been one of the most steep learning curves for me coming, bringing on the service. But what we wanted to do was give quite a real account of some of the challenges that we've experienced and where we're going. But just a huge raft of opportunities that we see both in terms of where we're at. I mean, it was great to hear this morning, because the timing of where we're at with our local development plan, we can actually learn from some great practice examples this morning and take that forward, which is really good for us. We are very much at the pre-planned stage, and I'll come on to a wee bit about how that shaped our direction as to where we're going. Just a wee bit of context, which I'm going to pass on to Helen to speak about. I'm really upset that the local development plan sits in a wee leaf at the top of the tree, in our strategy tree there, and it's not at the bottom. But Helen will give you a wee bit of context around what's the structure in Angus and what have we got in place.
So, as you see, we've got a lovely tree there, lovely, beautiful tree. Sorry, you can't hear, sorry, right. So we've got a lovely, beautiful tree there. And Angus is quite well structured with all their strategies. As every council is there, we've got the you've got the community learning development plan there. Now, people earlier on were saying about it's essential to target the right people, because you always see the same people. How do we get through to? How do we engage with those who, one, maybe don't want to be engaged, two, they don't know that they want to be engaged, and three, that they're so far away from any kind of engagement in their own lives at all that they don't realise there's help and support out there. And the CLD plan is actually one of the most useful documents, and actually will help you to target who you're vulnerable and groups who you need to engage with. That work's already done, and it's part of saying, look, we've got all these strategies, a lot of the work's already done for community planning and the planning team. Other things there, obviously you've got your third sector strategy, you've got your quality strategy, you know all the strategies, we've got them all there. All these strategies, obviously, then we've got the trunk of the tree, which is a local outcome improvement plan there. And underneath that, what Angus done was divided them up into 4 areas. So you've got Arbroath, Brecon Montrose, Carnoustie, Monteith and Sidlaw, and then Forfar and Kirrie. Now, there's opportunities and there's challenges there. Some of those localities naturally fit together. Arbroath naturally fits together. Forfar and Kirrie have always naturally fitted together. The communities there go back and forth, that's all right. Brecon Montrose, they've never fit together. Montrose is on the coast, they've got the oil companies there, they're seafarers. Brecon sits in the glens, you could almost say the farmers, the whole of industry there, completely. You would never associate. Those two communities don't associate. So already we've got a challenge, but also an opportunity to bring those communities together for there. Interestingly to point out, I think it was mentioned in a few other ones. So we've got our locality plans and locality partnerships. You've got health and social care, who also was starting out in their journey with kind of local implementation groups. Now, thankfully, they didn't call it the Brecon and Montrose Local Implementation Group, because that would have been the same as the partnership one. They called it the North East. So you've got the North East Health and Social Care Group. You've got the North East, South West, and South East. Now, on top of that, you've also got the wards, the elected wards. Now, they're not connected either for there. So they're kind of separate within this area as well. And then within that, you've almost got the school catchment area as well, which are slightly different within the localities. So, in one way, you can think of it as, right, we've got a real mix and match pot there, but equally, there's more opportunities to work with more people to get more results done. So, we're starting on trying to find the word diplomatically here. So, we're starting it in a place where it wasn't ideal, but has actually proven to be lots of opportunities. So there we've got the locality improvement plan with our 4 local partnerships there as well. Now each, like everybody else, we had to do our local plans. We've got the 4 local plans, again, produced through community engagement with the communities, and these weren't actually plans. They're more almost on themes. So when we were engaging with the communities, as you will know, all the engagement types we were in pubs, because where are you going to get, people who maybe are not going to go into your community centre, who are not going to go into the schools, who are a bit vulnerable there, into the pubs. We know all the pubs in Brecon and Montrose now, we know all the bar folk, and that was one of our most successful engagement places, because we were out there on a Friday and Saturday night. The team, they were reluctant, very reluctant.
That's what you're off to do.
But it was engagement, and we got people sort of really interested in seeing what it is. And also, there was no mistake in doing it in colours, because any document that is now produced is actually produced within the colours. And that has been, it's a simple thing, but the community actually looks at the green document, that links to the locality plan, oh right, that links to the charrette as well, that links to, so you've got almost that kind of building in that kind of familiarity with the community about, right, this is now yours.
So I think what Helen just explained there is just the sheer raft of plans, and I think one of the real opportunities was with the communities team, it's the local communities team. So we actually have a structure where our strategic community planning sits in a separate directorate, but we've brought together the local communities team and the development plan team, which for me, myself, is fantastic opportunity. I love things that are on the ground, loves things happening, and I always worry about all these plans that are produced, they sit on a shelf, and how do we drive that forward for delivery. And that's very much been the focus for some of the opportunities that have been created. This is our current structure that sits within what we call strategic planning. I like to think of it as development planning communities, which makes more sense to me. But we've got the local development plan team. We have our other 4 teams which are come through from communities are what we call matrix management. So each of the team leaders in those positions manages a locality, and they also manage a thematic area. So within that, and I did say it was a steep learning curve for me, we have youth work, planning for place, pride in place, and adult learning. So everything from literacy numeracy to community development to community asset transfer, PB, green dog walkers, everything is thrown in there. Initially, I would have said I was more aligned to the place themes, so anything, the pride in place and the planning for place, I thought, yeah, I can kind of get my head around that. The people side of things, adult learning and youth work was a real eye-opener. I think what I've learned over the last 6 months and picked up with working in the team is the real added value of the people and the place side of things. They're very much one and the same, you can't separate them out. Quite often, people who are coming along to maybe a community development event, one of our community workers will be chatting to them and identify a literacy issue. Therefore, we can pick them up through that way. If you split those two things out, you're working with the community, and splitting them out takes away that clear linkage between the two. So that's our constructor. Do you want to add anything on that, Helen? Or?
No, just that it's, we go back to, I think John, you mentioned it as well, it's working with people. The community has to be recognising their needs, and then through community planning, then you work with building everything else around that. If you don't start there, if you start with community planning, who has their own ideas about, we think that community needs that, we'll go in, we'll consult with it, yeah, but we're not really, because we really have an idea of what we're going to do, but we'll let you know what we're going to do, and then we'll do it together. That doesn't work, and I think people are kind of, you feel that they are being genuine, but they're not until they actually realise what is it the community are saying they're needing. Now, it might be some capacity building to get that community around to actually thinking, you know what, we thought that was what we needed, but actually it's this. And it's for them to say, it's not for us to dictate, it's for them to then say, and that's where real community planning then kicks in, where you get the services around on an already identified need from the community. And this is where I think, with the CLD perspective, where you have the literacy learners, where you have the ESOL groups, where you have the active community groups, or the community groups who actually don't know where they're going to go, is building that capacity for them to actually realise, what is it that you need from us now then? What's going to make the improvements in your lives and your outcomes to build a stronger community? And I think that's where the beauty for the teams working together has come.
So what I thought we'd do is, we're starting our local development plan from a position where we've got a locality plan, we've got 4 locality plans as well, we've got locality partnerships in place, they're 1 year in, was to have a look at how those locality partnerships are functioning and performing. And I think I would fair to say it's a mixed picture. So what we've decided to do is we're 1 year in, where are we with our locality partnerships? Some are working well, some aren't working well. So what we thought we would do is do a development session with them. And Helen's actually one of our place standard leads, along with one of my development plan officers. But really looking at the use of the place standards at that level as a locality partnership as a baseline measure. So every year we would do the place standard tool with that locality partnership. One of the other things we found with our locality plans is, the team said to me, don't really like those locality plans, they're a bit broad. I said, you know what, we've got locality plans in place, which is great, but they're very broad. They are indeed very broad. We've got some of them with 17 actions. That's an awful lot of actions to work with in that locality. So we've very much got a challenge to really define those actions moving forward. And I think there's a key role there in terms of using the place standard for that, and to help drive forward some of the actions through our local development plan. We've also looked at that in the context of participated budgeting. So each of our locality partnerships has budget allocated to it for PB. But we didn't rush ahead and say, you've got X amount to spend, off you go and spend it. We very much wanted to tie that into the locality priorities and moving those forward, and use that as part of that discussion. The real challenge, I think, from the PB work we've done to date is, how do you make communities feel they're part of the process, but we get things that are tackling into long-term outcomes than just the short-term measures. And part of our development session is very much focusing on PB from the context of not just the money side of things, but actually resources. So can our locality partnerships work with communities to actually vote on where resources should be driven, as well as the budgets, to make sure we're tapping into those priorities? Probably stolen a bit from you, Helen, but...
No, on you go. You're doing well. You're supporting that.
What we thought we'd do is, so I mentioned around the planning for place, and that's probably where somebody said to me when we brought in communities, that's where I mostly align with. So what we thought we'd do is cover where we see things going and where the opportunities are in relation to the development plan, and what I call the wider planning for place within the service, bringing together the development plan and the community development side of things. So I see the community very much sitting at the centre between the people in place, but this bit primarily looks at the place side of things. So Helen, do you want to cover the LOIP and locality plans, challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, I think you've kind of said before, one of the things I think in all the other presentations was the membership of the partnerships that you have. And it was interesting that some have elected members in. Angus has, we don't have the elected members in. We would like more community representation in our partnerships as well. And also, many of the partnerships are made up from obviously the CPP members. Now, not all of those members are identified within the locality they have been put in. For example, there was very few members of the Brecon and Montrose locality partnership who actually either stayed in Brecon or Montrose, worked in Brecon, Montrose, or were associated with Brecon, Montrose. Now that is a real issue when you're part of that partnership. So one of the beauties that the tool, the standards tool, has actually gotten in is actually for the partnership to actually look at these questions, for them to get to know the community that they're part of that partnership in. And as all good sort of tools, in research, because I see it as almost a research tool, it's actually giving us more questions than actual answers. And I think that that's good. I think that people should be discussing, should be using the questions in that planning tool to actually say, okay, how much do we know about this community? And that has been a key for a couple of the partnerships by using that tool and coming together there. So I think for the locality plans, one of the challenges is get to know your community. What is it your community is wanting, and then build a plan towards it and actually identify the needs with the community to take action.
Okay, so I just wanted to cover a bit around, we've got the structure in place, what does that mean for the teams? I think that's a real opportunity for me. I've got more staff, which is fantastic, but there's a real opportunity there to actually bring those staff together. So I've got access to community development staff, I've got access to CLD staff, I've got access to planning officers. So how can we make the best use of that, particularly in an era where resources are dwindling, they're under pressure? How do we make the most of what we've got? It's great timing. We've got some learning that we can take from elsewhere. We've also got the planning bill coming up, and there's some real opportunities in there that we've seen that have totally probably altered the direction that we're going to take our local development plan forward, and we're already starting that. Very much looking at picking up both Anthony and Neil's talks this morning as a focus on place. So actually working with communities as what's the role and function of your town? Bringing in developers as part of that conversation. And believe me, we're already having a backlash against that. When am I getting to do my call for sites? I've got commercially confidential information. I'm not sitting round the table with the community discussing about towns. Can I send you my red line boundary site of the area I want to develop? These are all comments we're getting back already. I think the 2-year preparation and the 8-year delivery proposed in the plan is a real opportunity from this structure that we've got in place. A focus on projects. So at the moment we have got opportunity sites. They've been in Angus since as long as some of my staff can remember. They've sat there, they've had their wee red line round them. They say opportunity site 5, appropriate for a mixed type of use of development. We've got low market demand. Nobody's touched that site in 30 years. They're not going to touch it without public intervention. Ask the community what they want, what's the issue in the area, that site's going to come up. So if we've got that resource in place, we've got 8 years to implement our plan. Can we bring those staff together to look at funding opportunities, to pool those resources and target those resources in a better way? At the moment we've got staff working on 20 or 30 different projects, even more than that, and we're not making big inroads. We have to align those staff to move them forward. In terms of the communities as well, very much we see the local development plan as an opportunity as well to align those resources in relation to local place plans. And it was interesting the chat around a bottom-up approach from East Ayrshire whereby communities are leading on community action plans. My worry, I suppose, is delivery. How can we get these things happening? We can't do all these community-led action plans, but can we, through the local development plan in terms of identifying priority areas, work with those hard-to-reach communities, work with those SIMD areas to say that's a key priority and focus where we will work with you in community plans to take forward a local place plan. Conscious Irene's waving at me in the background too. Part of that is really much a link into participatory budgeting as well, as can we work with communities to use that as a tool as part of that. Got a couple of wee diagrams just to sort of outline some of our thinking, which Helen and I had an afternoon, and I looked at my pad after we'd spent an afternoon constructing some various options. But very much the development plan at the centre of those planning assets and community assets and bringing that together. And as I mentioned there around the role of local place plans, we see as a real opportunity to target and align resources to make sure we've got things happening where we need them to happen. And that takes us forward to delivery of place-based initiatives. One thing just to cover on the development plan was, as well as that place-based focus, we really wanted that to focus on design and graphical images, and like Neil and Anthony have covered earlier, things that people can relate to. What does my town look like, rather than, you know, who that developer is moving forward. Last slide will be pleased to know, and Irene will be pleased to know, because I know she's very good at facilitating, as she did with our place standard training. We also did a joint session on facilitation, which was a great icebreaker between our community staff and development plan staff. But I thought this was a good way of kind of illustrating what we thought was really much the link between the two staff and what that team has the potential to do. So at the very top, we've got our Lloyd's local development plan as the kind of spatial representation of that. A big vision. What do we want Angus to look like? What do we want our localities to look like? Developing our local development plan as a place plan for Angus and a place plan for our localities. So again, it's picking up on those themes mentioned this morning. That in theory should lead on to projects. So if we've got the local development plan saying where the priorities are, that leads us then to start and develop projects around that. So when these funding pots come out, because let's face it, we're all in a position where we've got dwindling resources, is we've actually got projects ready to run. We've got people coordinated, we've got staff to bid for the money, we've got staff coordinated around that, which should lead to better outcomes.
Thank you very much.